parts I need in order to build a Traxxas 1/16 scale E-Revo. I was helped out with a lot of donations from RC Guys 100, GeoStealth R1, Formula Gamer 123, 4x4 Slashman, The Absolute One, Ryan V, Skylarkman, and one person who would like to remain anonymous. For all the parts that they didn't donate, I went ahead and bought myself. So now it's time to put Jester together. The first thing I'm going to be putting together is a front differential. Before I put any of this together, the differential gear does need some silicone grease on the outside. So I got a little bit on while wearing a glove. I'm just going to work it along the teeth. Now that we have a decent amount on there, it's time to go ahead and put it all together. So here we have both sides of the differential housing. We're going to put a bearing on each side. After that's done, we can go ahead and put the differential gear just in like that. Now we have a little pinion gear. What we're going to do is put two bearings on there and line it up with this groove right here. And it should sit in there very easy. Nothing really holding it in there at the moment. Alright, next, this is what the Servo Saver slides onto. So we're going to put that in there right there. Now we can get the other side and just push it all together. Make sure everything lines up. Just like that. Now we have this front part made of aluminum. That's held in with a single screw. And then there's only one more screw that holds this all together. Now with original mini E-Revos, they didn't have this screw, so there's a huge problem with the differential gear stripping. So with this screw, that pretty much prevents it, but at some time in the future I am going to have to shim it. But I'll leave that for an upgrade. And that would be the front differential. The rear differential is nearly identical to the front, but there's two minor differences, and I'll show them to you when I get to that part. So like before, I'm just going to go ahead and put a bearing in each side for the differential to sit into. Slide the diff in, then it's time to install the pinion gear with two bearings. Just like that, and slide it into its little groove. Now, unlike the front, there is no extra thing that you need to put right there. And the other difference is, once you do put this all together, this plate slides into the front, but there's no screw. So technically, we don't have to put this on yet. So, let's go ahead and do this screw that holds the whole differential together. And we are done with the rear. Alright, and in case you're wondering, yes, I did put some silicone grease on there. Next on the to-do list is putting the transmission together. Now as you can see, 3 bearings is installed on each side of the transmission. And the first gear we're going to work on has one grub screw that holds it to this shaft. So we've got to remove that. Slide that on. Match it up wherever the hole is. There we go. And tighten it down. Now that that grub screw is taken care of, it's time to assemble all the other gears. So we're going to start with the longest shaft. This plastic gear slides on there. It's not held on in any other way. That goes into the top of the transmission. Then we go to the middle gear, slide on another plastic gear, that goes in. Then we can finally get this big gear, and that's all moving very smoothly. Now just slide the other half on there. Easier said than done. Gotta make sure it's completely even on each side. And there we go. Next step, I have to go ahead and put 2 screws in on the bottom. Now that that's taken care of, I'm going to move on to the motor mount plate. Now this little stud gets put on there, and as you can see, it has a little tooth. That is to hold it in the proper position so I can put this screw in. Now that that's taken care of, I can now attach it to the transmission, and it's held on using 4 screws. So now we can finally attach the slipper clutch. As you can see, there is one small hole inside that shaft, and that is where this little bar goes, which is an incredible pain to get in there. Hopefully I'll get lucky. Check that out. First try. Alright, now we got the slipper clutch pad, which slides on there. Make sure it goes all the way down. Move on to the spur gear. Put the other side of the slipper clutch pad on there. Insert the bearing. Put it onto the shaft. Slide on the spring, followed by the nuts. Now I can go ahead and tighten this up because, well, Traxxas had an ingenious moment, and you can see that the other side of the shaft sticks out. So using a 1.5mm Allen wrench, I can stick it in there, hold it in position while I tighten this nut. Tighten it down all the way and loosen it up half a turn. Just like that. Remove this and we are done with the transmission for now. The last thing I'm going to be putting together is the Servo Saver. So I'm going to start off with the bottom, put the spring on top, followed by this washer. Then we have the arms. Just go ahead and put that on top, keep it all straight, followed by the top half. And this all gets held together with 2 screws. One here and one there. Okay, now we have a bushing that goes on top and one on bottom. Those can be replaced for bearings at a later date. Then we have the little extension so we can actually hook up the servo to the Servo Saver. One screw gets put in right here, and then obviously the other screw goes to this part. And if you want to later down the road, you can attach this part to this side and you can have 2 servos hooked up, which is really your option. It does come stock with just 1 servo. We are done with the Servo Saver. Now you can see that this rotates up just to take more of the shock off from the servo. Clever little design. And that's all that I'm going to be putting together for now.